When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ludlow, and enjoy today's episode. Hello, folks. This is probably episode number 2 of the Fearless Mindset Podcast with Mark Ludlow here. And we have Brian Anderson joining us from Orange County, California. And Brian's a retired police officer, SWAT, with an agency in California, and now corporate security, the bank down there. And he's just sharing some stories of working his time with Britney Spears, among many others. And he just wants to share, experience to help out, different people getting in the industry, males and females, and the do's and don'ts of being successful in the industry and the failures he's seen. He's seen a lot of stuff. Now he's in corporate America, in the corporate client that he has now, or actually his employer. He can share that, and he's getting ready to retire and move out of California and start a new life here soon. So he just wants to share his experiences. These are his stories. I have nothing to do with it. He just wanted to use the Fearless Mindset podcast platform to just give knowledge to all the listeners that are in the executive protection industry. So thanks for Ryan for being on, and let's keep on this conversation. It's really a lot of great material.
Thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. I wish that there was stuff like this when I was kind of coming into the industry, so you could hear some of these stories. I figured it out the hard way, meeting a lot of guys, and you pick out the good ones and the bad ones, and then you find friends in the business, and you take care of each other. But man, I met some good guys that taught me a lot about how to do this job. And really none of them came from a law enforcement background.
Right.
I've met a lot of military, background guys, but nobody that was a law enforcement background that really taught me how to do this job. Right. And then a lot of it was experience, getting out and doing it and learning the hard way. There's a lot of bad days out there, a lot of bad days. And then you figure it out a little bit more, and they become better days. Yep. And that's, when you're getting better at your job is when those bad days kind of start to fall to the wayside and you're having better days. But in this industry, there's always bad days. Just things can go wrong at any second. And no matter your training, you're working with people who make decisions last minute on what they want to do. It's not ideal. It's not what you plan for the day, but all of a sudden you got to make a stop to say CVS, and it changes the ball game big time on how your day's going to go.
A lot of good days, a lot of bad days in the EP industry. The celebrity world is so different because you have to deal with the hierarchy, a chain of command. You have so many people that are in control and power. Within that inner circle, you have an executive assistant, you have a manager, you have the girlfriend, the best friend. And within that inner circle, they're all fighting for that attention to have some sort of power.
That is a very true statement, man. Is there are so many things that you gotta be so politically correct on navigating when you're in that environment, right? When you're at somebody's house and you're working with that client, it's not you and that client. That's the farthest thing from it. You're dealing with that client when you go somewhere for the most part, right? You're dealing with their management team, and their management team's opinion of how things are going to go during the day are the exact opposite of yours for the most part. The executive assistant, I've learned the executive assistant, if they don't like you as a bodyguard, you're dead in the water right there. I've seen this twice in the time that I worked with celebrities, that they've ousted guys from being on a detail because they do not like that individual for whatever reason, personality conflict, or a statement that you made that they don't agree with, and you're done. You're dead in the water right there. Executive assistants have a lot more than anybody in that team, right? Because who's in the ear of the celebrity nonstop? The executive.
Yeah.
I learned, and I'm sure you learned this in the Marine Corps. Who do you want to be friends with the most? You
The
need a
corporals and
friend.
sergeants.
You need a friend in admin, and you need a friend in supply, right?
Yep.
So you can turn your stuff in when you don't have half of it, and you're friends with that guy, so he kind of lets it slide. You go into a detail, you need to be friends with the personal assistants. That's just the way that works. Management, they could care less about you. They're not going to put any time into you.
You don't make them any money. They don't care.
Right. All you are, and like any security detail, you just cost money to management, and it's where I work now. I don't make a bank money. I spend their money. And that's the way a management team looks at security. And, that's that old saying of security, the first to fire and the last to hire, right?
Exactly.
Because celebrities would go around without security all they want until an incident happens. Once that incident happens, then we're going to go overboard on security, and you're going to have people at the driveway. You're going to have people at a guardhouse. You're going to have them, walking the perimeter of their house all night, and you're going to have somebody in a car with them everywhere they go until they feel like that threat's gone. And then they're going to fire the guy that stands by the driveway. Then they're going to fire the guy that walks the house at night, and they're going to fire the guy that drives in the car with him until something else happens.
Yep, true. We've seen it happen hundreds of times.
Hundreds of times. And that's where I was extremely lucky. But you take a Lindsay Lohan, and it was do we need security today? Do we not need security today? Oh, well, we got court issues, so we need security. We need this during this time frame. And that's kind of why that contract ended is, things settled down, things got worked out in court, and then, you don't need security anymore. Only when you go out to events, right? Well, when you have somebody like Britney Spears, there is no, do we need security today? It's you have to have it nonstop. So I was fortunate in that aspect of being a full-time job.
Was that a requirement by her insurance company or by management to have that as for insurance for a safeguard?
I want her branding.
What do you think on that?
I wouldn't be able to speak on an insurance wise or whatever, but because of the situation she was in, she had to have security 24/7. I mean, look, I remember working there one night, before I really got to know her, and a car just pulled in the driveway with 4 teenage kids. They knew where she lived. They just wanted to go to Britney Spears' house, right?
Yeah, sure.
So, there was those kind of threats nonstop with her. I mean, she's a huge celebrity. She would get letters from inmates in prisons around the country.
Crap.
Marriage proposals in the mail. I mean, crazy stuff that you got to deal with. But yeah, with that camp, it was more of a day-to-day protection detail because of who she was, not because it was a requirement of any sort. And, look, she has all those, issues with her family and stuff. So it was.
That's all over the press now. It's crazy what she's going through. Conservatorship with her father, fighting her because obviously he knows more about it than we all do. And of course, you were inside there, so you know a lot more about than anybody does. But she's got a lot of internal fighting going on with her company, her trust, and everything else going on, and the conservatorship and stuff. Yeah,
and like I mentioned before, it was a very volatile camp to work in.
Sure.
Every day was a challenge at that house, man. Between her and the people that manage it. And I think everybody can see that by watching the news. You look into that story, and everybody's going to have their own opinion on, the Free Britney campaign.
I saw the Free Britney movement or something like that.
Yeah. Everybody can have their own opinion on that, but and I have mine.
You do have yours, and Brian's. This is Brian's personal opinions and experiences at the time he spent working for Britney during his time in executive protection. He no longer works for her or the company associated with any of the other celebrities. He's in corporate America doing his thing. So I made that disclosure. I've never worked with Britney myself. I've worked with many other companies and clients, but not. So this is not a violation of NDA whatsoever on my end. This is totally Brian's opinion and personal experiences.
But man, everybody can look at it the way they want to. I mean, there's good sides and bad sides to being on that, conservatorship.
Yeah.
But is it needed? Is it fair? I guess that's what everybody's question is, right? Is it fair? Working day in, day out. I don't know, man. I wouldn't want to be controlled, but at the same time, there's reasons for everything, right? And I guess, when you come to that, the near future is going to tell us what the difference is, right?
What do you think that's going to look like? Or are you at liberty to discuss that? Or do you feel comfortable discussing
personally, that? I think it's going to be ugly.
Oh, I'm really that bad? Okay.
I think it'll be ugly, but that's my personal opinion. Okay. And I'm allowed to have that opinion on that. And with the knowledge that I have from, that camp, it's going to be ugly, but hopefully she does the best with what she's got and moves forward.
And she always treated you well, didn't she? She liked having you around.
There's good days and bad days. I was very fortunate. So when I came on, when I worked with her, I started at nights. I progressed up, went on tour, was the advanced guy for her during our 2011 tour. And then we geared up to go on X Factor. And that was a eye-opening experience on X Factor. We traveled around the country, and those were long days. You want to talk about dehydrating and stuff. You're sitting behind her in an audience of 13-year-old girls screaming. There was no getting up, going to the bathroom, doing any of that stuff. That was an experience in itself. But yeah, there was a lot of bad days there. And that hence why I decided at some point to go on tour with somebody else, because I needed a break from the
tornado,
right?
Hurricane.
At a point it affects you as the agent mentally.
That's a good topic, because when as an agent, you need your mental health too. You need your physical health, and this client principal is draining you 7 days a week for possibly 30 days, and you're shot.
Right. Yeah. And when you're traveling like that, and it wasn't like you travel and then you got days off, you're going right back to the house and doing your day-to-day business. Right. And it becomes a lot. This job isn't that glamorous. I mean, it's
right.
It's not running around, doing photo shoots and going to fancy restaurants. There's a lot of downtime where you're just at home with the client and dealing with that nonsense. And that's where it starts to kind of break you down a little bit, in my opinion. That camp was a little bit different. I don't think every celebrity has somebody there 24/7, but she did. And I was that guy. And, you're teaching kids how to ride bikes, and you're involved in day-to-day stuff where you're like, man, I got a family at home. And
so you become like Uncle Brian, right?
Yeah, you're dealing with stuff that you just normally want. You're dealing with the dishwasher repair guy, right?
Right.
You're dealing with the guy who's doing the cabling in the house for internet. You're doing all of that stuff. Doctors, and you're the in between guy. Everybody's got to go through you to get to that person, right? And
so you become another gatekeeper for the family,
right? And you got a family at home that you got to do that same job for, right? And after a while, it becomes where it's too much for you, and that's where I kind of envied guys that were single, that, they didn't have to deal with that. But I did. That was my reality, is I got a family life at home, and then I felt like I had a family life there as well, because you need to be loyal, right? You need to be loyal to the family that you're working for, and or you don't have a job. And
so you became the executive protection for Britney. You became executive assistant when the executive assistant was shopping for her and Rodeo Drive or doing whatever, the beach, running an errand for coffee. And you're next in the pecking order when everybody else is gone on vacation or off the day because they're sick and had a tummy ache. And so
there's days there's nobody at that house. It's just you and your client. And if something goes wrong in that house, you're the guy.
So Brittany calls you on the phone. Hey, Brian, the TV just won't work. Can you help me?
Right. And that's your job. Client wants to go for a run.
Yep.
You're running that day. It's the way it works.
So the more you serve that client, the more of an asset you create for yourself in your position to justify that invoice.
You do. You do very much so. But at the same time, it starts to take a toll because that's not your real life. The best advice that I could give for anybody trying to get into this industry, and I've seen people violate this 1,000 times. Doesn't matter how close I was. If I was the guy that fixed the dishwasher, or if I was the guy that took you to the studio to rehearse, I'm not friends with you. We're never going to be in that same bubble. They're in a bubble, and I'm outside of that bubble.
How soon did you realize that? From the very beginning?
I don't think right from the very beginning. I think it was when I started working day to day.
Yeah.
And once you start picking up on the politics of the house, so how things work, who's the hierarchy, and you realize you're a fucking nobody at the end of the day, right? Even if they treat you well and talk to you, there's times where people talk to you in the car and you have very candid conversations with that person, but it's because you're stuck in a car together on the 405 coming back from rehearsals going back to Calabasas. There's days that they're completely quiet. There's days that they're chatty like anybody else in the world, right? But I realized really quick that I was a conversation of convenience, not because somebody cared about me, right? They don't care about you. They don't want to know about your personal life. They don't want to know. My number one rule doing this job was keep your fucking mouth shut.
Ooh.
If you're asked a question, answer the question. If you're not asked a question, don't talk. I worked for a client who tried to hire me back later down the road, but he couldn't remember my name, so he just asked for the guy who didn't talk. But I respected that, and like I was happy that that's how I was referred to, because I've seen so many guys get ousted out of this job because they don't know how to keep their fucking mouth shut.
Well said.
They like to talk. I've seen it numerous times. I fired drivers on tour because they wanted to talk to a celebrity, and we're done with that. But you want to make somebody feel awkward. They don't know you, and you're going to ask them questions or tell them that you like their last album or the last photo shoot. Like, get out of here with that nonsense.
Like you said, a key thing: you're not there to be their friend. You're working for them.
You're working, and people have a problem making that separation.
Barrier transition.
Yeah. They just don't know how to do it. People, when somebody asks you a personal question, you now think that they have an interest in you. They don't fucking care about you. They can care less about you, your name, how many kids you got at home. They don't care. Are you going to be at work on time? Are you going to drive me and get me where I need to be? And are you going to keep me safe? Those are the only things that those people really care about. The other interactions, it's all fluff. It's all something that, like everybody else's personal day, it's all shit that gets thrown into the day. Nobody cares about you. And you shouldn't expect them to care about you.
True. That's the reality check in the business.
It is. At the end of the day, I don't care about you either. But while I'm working for you, I care to an extent to keep you safe. And it's not safe from, this is where I think people get misguided in this business.
Right.
You're not always keeping somebody safe from outside threats. You're also keeping them safe from themselves.
True.
Right? Their reputation. So they don't get seen in a bad way. That's your job more than keeping them from threats. It's like a security guard that stands outside of a bank, right? You're a deterrent for bad people, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You're
a deterrent for bad people when you're with them, but you're also a deterrent from them to do stupid shit that's going to make it into the press. That's one of your main jobs, I think, in this industry, is to protect a celebrity from themselves. At least from the ones that I worked with, that was, our main goal.
Did you have any moments with Britney where you were in fear for her life or your life, or you had to take a second look at something? That someone just made your hair of your neck stand up saying, "Oh crap, now what do we do?"
Yeah, I mean, there was like, look, you're with one of the biggest pop stars in the world, right? So there's always a threat of some sort, right? you get letters at the house, like I said, from people from prison, from people from out of state. There was a guy that named all of his kids after her and then moved to Calabasas and lived behind routes. Yeah, that guy's a threat. You got to worry about that dude. Is he going to try to come to the property? Is he not? I mean, those are things that you got to, constantly look at. I don't think every security detail puts thought into that as much as the one that I worked on with that, because those were such major threats that we tracked people like that. We followed them on Facebook. We did, all the Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We followed those people to see what they were doing.
Did she have a protective intelligence team that helped her or helped you?
Yeah, it was us. That's what we did.
Oh, that's what you guys did on the side.
Yeah, if you're at the house, man, and you got downtime, you're tracking threats online.
Oh,
that's what you're doing.
So not just addition to patrols on the house, foot patrols, checking the gate. You're doing that too,
right? You're taking care of all that.
Your day is busy. You have no downtime at her house.
Not at all. It was never a time where you're kicking back and taking it easy ever. And you keep those same trends going when you travel, because now you're in a foreign area with new threats. So you want to track that stuff, and you want to do that counter surveillance. With somebody like that, that's what it is. If you're not doing counter surveillance on your client, then you're doing it wrong. Because anytime you go into a new area, there's a new threat that you're just not aware of, but it's there. No, to answer your question, is there something that like happened, an incident? No, not really.
Your biggest threat was paparazzis that were crazy, right?
And my client.
Oh yeah, never mind. I'll let you disclose that.
And my client was their biggest problem.
As we know.
It's funny. The company I worked for had a tendency to pick up problem clients.
I noticed that.
Problem female clients.
Yeah. Is there something to that?
I think there is. I think that they proved that they were capable of doing it with one, and other management companies saw that. And so that's where I go back to say that our job wasn't solely to protect them from outside threats. It was to protect them from themselves. Reputationally.
Their own brand reputation.
Right.
So not only bodyguard for brand security, protective intelligence for social media. Did you guys have like geofencing on your phone to track stuff? Is that kind of how you guys did protective intelligence on your phones?
No, yeah. I mean, look, we're talking years ago, right? Didn't have that kind of stuff. It was you're doing internet searches all day, and you're doing open source type investigations on your own, and looking people up, trying to find information and stuff like that. Yeah, you were doing that nonstop. You got a guy coming over to the house. He's a massage therapist. I'm doing a background on that guy before he gets there. I mean, stuff you wanted to know.
Right. What are the craziest, fondest memories with Britney?
All right, I'm going to throw this out there.
Okay. All right.
So earlier we were talking.
Lindsay Lohan.
Earlier when I said that I bought a car just to drive back and forth to LA, and I ended up using that car a lot to drive Britney in. Yeah. And she caught it on fire on the 405.
She did?
Seat. Yeah, we were driving home, and she threw a cigarette out of the window. I don't remember ever saying that anybody could smoke in my car, but there's certain things you deal with. And when she was done, she threw it out the window, and it double backed in because of the wind and landed in my back seat. And I had to pull over on the 405 at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and dump water all over my mat in the back because it had caught on fire. Keep in mind, this car had less than 1,000 miles on it at the time. No. I don't think that smell of smoke ever came out of that car. I sold it last year. My daughter drove it until it almost broke. It still smelled like smoke in the back.
I remember that story actually from years ago when he told me. I'm like, she did what? Holy crap. And then you have your cigar smoke just billowing there at the bar there on the video screen. So it's perfect timing.
Perfect time. Yeah. So you never know with people what you're going to get into, but that was a day where I did. You got to be kidding me.
What was her reaction like? Was she just cussing up a storm, or I'm so sorry, or what did she say?
No, there wasn't a word spoken.
You were pissed off. You were pissed.
On either end. Yeah, I was probably angry. I didn't express it, but there was no, hey, sorry. It was just like, okay. Hey, matter of fact, it was when Waze had just come into play. So I used to use that to see how long it was going to take to get somewhere. And I remember the exact comment as I got back on the freeway: how long before we get home?
After she almost torched your car.
Right. As I got the back windows down and smoke billowing out on the 405 around Culver. Yeah, there's not a day that if I drive that way, I pass it and go, it was right here.
Holy crap. Yeah, I remember that story like it was yesterday when you told me on the phone. I was like, what?
Well,
Many others.
It was a great gig. I mean, I've got to do, I think this is the one thing that the benefits, every job has a benefit, right? And the benefit of executive protection is you get to do and see things that you wouldn't get to do in your normal life, right? Sure. Me as Brian, I'm not going to get to, what are the chances I'm going to get to fly across the country or in foreign countries in a private jet? You're not. And I've gotten to do that. I've gotten to go to places that I couldn't afford to go to. I've gotten to eat some of the best meals in the country or around the world. But those are the benefits that come with the job. And to be honest, I didn't even realize there were benefits until I left that job. It's perks that come with it, but you're doing it and you're eating at a nice restaurant at a table next to your client and you're angry because you haven't slept in a day or you haven't gone to the bathroom or, you're not appreciating the moment. Like you're not basking in the sun, sitting at this 5-star restaurant, eating with your client. You're thinking about your next move. You're thinking about, okay, when I leave here, I got to go to this location. What am I going to do? So you're constantly, your mind should be constantly running in those situations. So you don't realize the benefits until you leave. And I remember I had taken the job in the corporate world and I'd been out of, celebrity executive protection for a couple months. And I went on vacation and I got coached on a plane and went, oh man, this sucks. Like I hadn't done that in so long.
It does.
One of the coolest things I think I did while I was doing executive protection is I had befriended a higher up at American Airlines at LAX. So when I would go pick up the client, I've gotten them to stop a plane on the tarmac and let her out. And I'd go pick her up in a car and I would drive underneath the wings of other planes. And the rep from American Airlines is sitting in the passenger seat going, that's a felony. That's a felony. That's a felony. Because you're not allowed to do that.
No, that's a TSA violation.
Right. And I was fortunate enough. I got people that let me do that to pick up a client. And
wow.
That was a cool experience for me. I mean, I think that's when in my mind, I was kind of like, shit, I kind of made it a little bit. Like, I got people bending over backwards for me to help me out, get this client without making a scene. And that's the way I think if you're an advanced guy, mm-hmm. you have to present it to the people that you're going to, right? You can't just walk in and go, I want to do this, this, and this. You got to present them a problem and then present them with a solution at the same time. Like, hey, you're going to have havoc out here outside LAX when Britney Spears comes off a plane, and you're going to have paparazzi running everywhere, causing problems with traffic and cops. But if you allow me to do this, I can solve that problem by never creating that problem. And then it, they think about it and they're like, okay, that's not a bad idea. Let's see if we can make that work. And I think that was the hardest part about advancing when I was brand new, is I had the concept of what advancing was. We did it in the police department. We did it in SWAT. We did it in the Marine Corps. But you're doing it for some, celebrities. You're going to a hotel and now asking them to change how they do their operations for 10 minutes so you can get a client in, right? And the first time I did it, I remember I was in LA at a hotel, and I'm brand new at this, and I didn't know how to present it. And I'm asking the manager to do all these crazy things, and he's like, dude, that is not going to happen. There's no way. I'm not shutting my staff down and having them go into rooms so you can walk down a hallway with somebody. He goes, who are you even bringing in? And I felt weird about it. I'm like,
sure,
man, I don't want to say their name. You're trying to protect all that. And finally, I'm like, it's Britney Spears. And the guy's like, well, wait, what? Okay, you can do what you want. And I'm all, really?
Crazy, isn't it?
That inspired me. Every other location, I learned how to manage that. And I remember, we were on X Factor. I'd go to a hotel and I would talk to the staff and go, hey, I got a team of 3 guys. We're going to be gone all day. When we get home, is there somewhere to eat around here? Because we're not going to be able to eat. They would hold food for us after the room service shut down. They would, whatever, a lot of it was like scraps, but they would put it in a room and they would hold it for me. And I'd come back and we'd be able to dish it out between the 3 guys that were there. It's all how you approach the people. And it was all about how, you got to make them feel special. But you have to have limits at the same time, because I've run into situations where you have that conversation, they shut everything down for you, and then a manager pops out of a side door in front of your client, asks for a signature. And it's like, ooh, that wasn't part of the game plan.
How do you handle that?
Well, that actually happened to me in Kansas City. And the way I expressed my disappointment on it, I guess, to the manager, and he actually had that person sent home for the rest of the time that we were there, so it wouldn't happen again. I don't know what happened with that person at the end of the day, but I remember walking through the hallway. We were coming through the kitchen, going to the service elevator, and she jumped out with a pen and a pad and wanting a signature. And I remember just pushing her to the side casually, and we kept walking. And I remember, the client making that comment, boy, that was rude. Because it is, you expect that from general public, but not the hotel that you're staying at, right? I mean,
sure,
it's unprofessional in anybody's career, right? Especially for an assistant manager at a hotel. But
what was Britney's hot buttons working with her? What was her thing that really triggered her?
Wow, that's a loaded question. My first go-to is everything.
Everything. You're living in a life of chaos and hurricane.
I'll tell you without getting too much detail. Turbulence.
Okay. Turbulence. Oh, in the jet flying.
Oh man, that was bad.
She freaked out.
Yeah. And nobody told me until I found out the hard way.
Oh.
On a commercial flight.
You guys are on a commercial flight?
We're on a commercial flight when I found out.
Oh, no way.
She didn't handle turbulence very well.
She just freak out?
Yeah. Which made me kind of freak out.
So you're on a commercial jet going somewhere to somewhere, probably first class, I assume?
Yeah.
And then she was just it started shaking, hopping, and doing the bunny hop.
It was bad. It was a bad day. Let me tell you, it was a bad day. I remember getting off of the flight when I had a free moment. I called the guy that owned the company that was predominantly her number one guy prior, to me coming on board. And he kind of laughed and goes, "Yeah, I forgot to tell you about that."
So you guys are on a commercial airline on this flight, first class.
Right.
Whoa. I didn't know she flew commercial.
Yeah, I think the only celebrity that I've been with that didn't fly commercial was Johnny Depp. I mean, but you're talking about a well-established guy in the industry. He had his own plane on standby all the time. I mean,
that's a lot of money.
Yeah, right. But
I thought Britney, didn't she always fly private charter, or did she?
It depended. The longer I was there, the more we flew private. But when you're doing production for somebody like say X Factor, they're picking up the bill for the private side.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So they want you there to and from, no issue. So they're taking care of that stuff and it's always been that way with other celebrities I work for. Depending on what they're doing, somebody's picking up that private flight for them. So
that makes sense. The production company who's ever producing her, whatever, they have it in the contract. Maybe
it's the same with security. So you take like X Factor, for instance, and so when I was on that tour, the celebrities were Simon Cowell, Britney, Demi Lovato, and then I can't think of the other guy's name, but not everybody had full-time bodyguards. But because you're filming that production, the insurance company made that while you were on set, you had to have a bodyguard assigned to you. So there was a company, and I don't remember the company who actually did it, but they had EP agents that were on set every day that we worked with. But they were provided not by the client, but by the production company to have that security.
Crazy world it is, isn't it?
And Brittany was fortunate enough. So the same company had Demi Lovato at the time. So we had 2 of the 4.
Wow. That's a lot of clients to manage.
Yeah, on a tour like that, it is. And there was only 3 of us for both. So we were busy.
Did you ever have moments? I'm going to go to a human element to you now. As an EP agent, where your gut just started erupting when you're with your client and you had to go to the bathroom. There was just no stopping it. And you just had to do what nature needs you to do. And you had to tell your client, hey, or did you have get sick or something? You ate something, you may just want to throw up in a bag and, oh crap, how am I going to recover from this? Get some Listerine in your mouth. You eat something and you just throw up. You go, oh crap, I feel like crap. I'm in a fever, but I got to work.
I've never had like a bathroom issue really. I have been sick. I've had the flu. I've had fevers.
You just worked through it?
Yeah, I pushed through those. I got vertigo really bad in Japan with a client where I remember looking at the other EP guy, asking him if I thought there was an earthquake at the hotel. And he's like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about.
You're rocking that bad.
Yeah, but my body, I was off. Killed. The one bathroom story I guess I got is I was.
We got to hear this.
I was with Eva Longoria in Vegas.
Oh, okay.
And I can't say anything but nice things about her. She's a great client to work for.
Okay.
But she had to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
So, and she's not very needy. So when she had to go to the bathroom, it was just, you just let her go in and you just waited outside. I took that as an opportunity to go for myself.
In the same bathroom?
No, just, right next door to the men's room. And I'm like, okay, I got a few minutes. I can beat her out.
Okay.
So I ran in and
do your thing.
As I'm trying to hurry and I'm trying to push through it as fast as I can. And the bathroom attendant started picking up on me. And and her boyfriend at the time was in the bathroom with me.
Oh, crap.
So I come out, I beat her out. She comes out, and hours later, we get into the car and we're driving home, and she leans up from the back seat and goes, hey, did you want to go back to that one restaurant and get your boyfriend, or do you want to just keep going? It made me laugh. I was like, oh, wow. I got ratted out by her boyfriend, but that was a pretty funny bathroom experience.
He has a sense of humor, at least.
Great client. I got nothing bad to say there. Yeah.
Nice. Was Britney personal like that, or was she in her own little world?
Own world.
Okay.
In all the years that I was with her, a lot of it one-on-one. We had very few candid conversations. Very,
not
very
personal at all.
not really. All you don't. You're part of staff. Really, at the end of the day, you're just your staff, and you know what? It's with a lot like that with a lot of clients. And again, and that's where if you're offended by that, and you want to be their friend, and you want to talk to them, don't do this job because you're going to be very disappointed at the end of the day.
Just don't try to be a bodyguard. Be a professional.
Right. You're never going to be an equal to these people. They don't see you as an equal. And quite honestly, they shouldn't. You're employed to do a job and go do your job and do your job well. Don't try to be buddies. Don't try to talk to them and ask them about things that they've done. They don't care. They could care less. I sat in a car with Johnny Depp one day, and we're stuck in traffic, and he started asking me, "Hey, what movies of mine have you seen?" So I'm going to answer that question. I mean, he's actually asking me. I didn't realize how many movies of his I hadn't seen.
Makes you kind of feel embarrassed.
He was very disappointed in my response. To that.
Was he?
Yeah. But yeah, when you're presented with that question, yeah, dude, answer it. You're be personable, but don't talk to him about the movies you've seen of his. If he's asking me, I'm going to answer those questions.
Don't bring it up.
I'm not going to look in the rearview mirror and then ask him the exact same. Hey, when you made this movie, that's unprofessional, and you shouldn't be doing the job if you're asking that stuff. And he's actually, I remember he actually came and complained one time about a guy that worked for him because he was asking him all kinds of questions, and he came up and was like, "Hey, I don't want that guy, around anymore." So it's like, okay, we'll talk to the company, and that won't happen again.
If these people at this level, they're used to having a staff. Their whole entire life has been surrounded by an entourage, a team. They have staff, and they've lived this their entire lives. So this is their norm you're working in.
Right. And you got to adapt to that. You're a nobody on that team. And, I guess I say that a little bit too harshly. You have a role on that team. Don't overstep your boundaries on that. To me, I can make suggestions on where we're going to walk in at, how we're going to leave, the route we're going to take home. Those are the things that I have in my power. If you don't want to listen to that and you choose, no, I want to take this way home instead. Hey, I offered it to you, but your client's ultimately the one that makes those decisions, or their management team. And Britney's team, you present that to her dad. Hey, this is the way I want to do this, right? And he would shit can it or not. Most of the time they let us do what we wanted there. But I've had other clients, and Johnny's one of them, like, you're going to do what he says at the end of the day. And you have to adapt to that situation and make it work.
What was the most discouraging thing you experienced working with, like, Britney?
Most discouraging. I mean, to be completely honest with you, the whole atmosphere.
Oh, okay.
It was a very depressing atmosphere, man. It was very somber all the time. It was it wasn't a good place to be.
You didn't enjoy it?
No, it wasn't a day that I enjoyed working there.
Wow.
I got to see cool shit. I got to do my job. I really got to flourish as an EP agent.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a day that I was happy about it.
Wow. You think most guys hearing that would be shocked to hear that? They would be shocked.
Yeah, maybe. I guess you have to go experience, right? You have to go live that day to day and see how that really works. And when you see how it works, it's like you pulled the curtain back on something, right? And
right.
It ain't as glamorous as you thought. As a matter of fact, it's actually depressing.
Wow. That's pretty wild. Because you've seen some crap that the media wishes they knew about her. And of course, you're not going to disclose that stuff here because, in all due respect, it is a profession, and you don't. But you know stuff and seeing stuff that you have that opinion.
Right. But don't anybody take it the wrong way. Like I said, I'm putting names out there because it's common knowledge.
Right.
I did, and it's in the. But your job is to protect that person, and at the end of the day, me sitting here telling you, very personal stories that I've seen. That client didn't sign up for that hiring me, right? You got to protect that.
Sure.
Bit. And
you have to.
That's your role. Even though you haven't, have an NDA anymore, doesn't mean you can. You can. She's had a body.
The dirty laundry on air. You don't want to do that because it's a profession of trust still.
Right. She had a bodyguard that came out and said a lot of things about her and stuff like that. And that guy's a shitbag.
That guy was a month ago came out and disclosed.
Yeah, he did it a few years ago too. He's just capitalizing now on the situation, right? But
was he? Okay.
Yeah, he got fired for sleeping on the job.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, and then he's angry about it. So he goes out and he makes up these lies, and his wasn't even. He had worked there for like 3 months, and I can tell you from my experience, and it was the same company pretty much. You don't get to see anything in 3 months. They work you into it. You don't see anything in 3 months on that camp. It's not going to happen. So you got a guy like that comes out with his stories. It's all bullshit.
Wow. You're just making up something to pay the owner of the company back in the.
Yeah, I'm sure the guy made some money out of it, or got something. He's not talking just cause.
True.
But
someone offered him something he couldn't refuse.
Right. And the media or whoever was interviewing the guy, they don't know what he saw. They just know he works in the camp. But yeah, the guy worked there for like 3 months, dude. I mean, what you don't know anything about that person in 3 months in any of this, any job that you go to in this industry in 3 months, you don't know anything about how to get to the house. Right.
True. Right.
You don't know how the house operates. You don't know who's in charge of it. You don't know anything in 3 months. It's just not possible.
Yeah, he made a big splash. I've seen all kinds of news feeds all over Facebook, all over the internet, and that company's name was published everywhere. I was like, "Oops."
Yeah, they, they're making a big deal out of, that company. I worked for that company for a lot of years. I got no issues with them whatsoever, and I really think they're doing a misjustice on that company for doing what they were asked to do.
And that was asked by the father, correct?
Right. Yeah. He dictated everything, and
he was the boss.
If you're the guy out there that is employed by that guy and he's asking you to do things, you're doing what you're being asked to do.
So the media overhyping all this?
To a degree,
okay.
I guess. I think with the company they are. I think the company really doesn't have much to do with the actions that were taken against her, right? I mean, that's a family issue. That's a
internal family, right? Okay, that makes sense.
That has nothing to do with the security company. I can tell you that security company did nothing but try to protect that girl. That was it. That was their number one focus.
So Jamie asked the company and say, "Hey, by the way, let's do some stuff for all my daughter to keep track of her." And they said, "Okay, you're the boss. We'll do whatever you want."
I would assume that would be the case.
Okay.
Like I said, I've never had a problem with Jamie. He's always a nice guy to the security guys. We interacted a lot. And he was a good dude. What happens behind closed doors?
Who knows?
Who knows? Right. Who knows?
That's their family business.
Yeah. And they got a lot of family issues, man. But
as we know.
Yeah, as it's all been dragged out in the last 2 weeks. So
crazy.
The security company, I think it's unjust that they get dragged through the mud on that.
Fair enough.
They did nothing but good work and good protective work for that client to the extreme, actually.
Really? Okay.
I think we took it to a different level of protection.
I know that company has been very well known in the celebrity circles up there.
Yeah, which when I started with that company, there was like 4 of us.
Wow.
And it's grown quite a bit.
Right. But, that's what I heard.
You get that reputation, and you know you can go up. You know, there's a lot of other companies out there that they have celebrities, and they're the worst companies ever.
True.
They got big clients. Yeah, and one of the 2 that I worked for was one of those companies that they ruin the industry, in my opinion.
They do. Absolutely. And I think we have a big industry shift going on right now with, you know, the big one that just bought the other big one. And that's going on right now. And a lot of people don't want to work anymore. They don't want to get paid $20, $30 an hour, and they got a lot of experience. Like, why work?
Right. I remember I went to a company right towards the end, and I made a deal with them. You know, hey, I got this experience, in and out of the country, and they put me on a contract. So, you know, I had a day rate for the United States. I had a day rate for California, day rate for the United States. And I had a day rate for overseas. And I was with that company for 2 weeks, and I was out of state, and I didn't even make it to my hotel room before they tried to negotiate my contract with me via email.
Wow.
All I did was send their contract right back to them. Like, no, this is what we agreed to. I mean, dude, I haven't even put my suitcase down, and they're trying to negotiate what they had signed me up for. Those are the shady fucking companies that are out there that somehow miraculously they stumbled into a celebrity and they get the contract, and then the problem is filling that position. So they promise the world to people, and then once you're in that camp, dude, stand by, because they will fuck you at every turn. They will try to get money from you at every turn, and they'll try not to pay you at every turn. And that's what ruins the industry to me. That was another big push for me to leave, was the way they conduct themselves. Because you're the face of the client, really, right? Mm-hmm. They don't know the owner of the company. They don't care about the owner of the company most of the time. They care about what product the owner of the company provides to them. And if you're a well-liked EP agent and your company's behind the scenes fucking everybody over on money, you're the guy that suffers for that.
Sure.
And I've seen that time and time before, and it happened to me. Where you're well liked by the client, you're trusted by the client, and the company can't be trusted, and they're in the background trying to screw everything up. And that's exactly what happened. And that guy ended up losing that contract.
Yeah, it's very typical in the celebrity world. For, like, I heard there's the one big family, they go through at least a dozen companies a week at one time. And that's just typical with the celebrity world.
Yeah. You know, when you're taking these jobs in executive protection, ask a lot of questions, because, you know, what I have found in this is what you're being paid and what they're charging the client. Well, there's a big gap in there.
What do you say? 50, 60%?
Oh, easy. It's the company owner is the guy that wants to go home making the money. He doesn't care if you're taking it home. That's why there's an industry standard on rates, right? You know, when we were working, it was like $35 an hour was a good rate. And if you could carry a gun, then you're maybe looking at 45. But guys are carrying guns, taking 35 an hour, because there's other companies out there that are paying agents $25 an hour to work with high-end celebrities. And that's bullshit. That is it. Those guys should be ousted from the business, because they're driving it down, because they get one good celebrity, and then that celebrity's never going to hire anybody for $35 an hour or more. No. It's not. And that's bullshit at the end of the day.
I would say that problem exists probably in Los Angeles, of any city in the United States. That pay problem has always existed in LA.
Always, because everybody's trying to undercut everybody, right? You know, I can tell you from knowing guys in other states that work, they make way more money than we do in California doing similar to less jobs, less important jobs. They don't have these problems. Nobody's undercutting it. They take security for what it is, and it's a high paying job in other places. Alabama, for instance, I know a company that pays like $50 an hour to do less than being with a celebrity. It's the security company owners that fuck up the industry and drive guys out.
And I'd say that's very prevalent in Southern Cal. Northern Cal, I think I've heard corporations paying 65 to 70 an hour for a CCW agent now in the Bay Area now. That price has gone up substantially.
But it's private clients, right? You don't know their name.
Exactly. Private clients, a corporate client, probably somebody in tech.
Right.
It's a different animal from celebrity because you have a corporate campus you're reporting to, or you're probably working in a state RST assignment, and you're sitting in a vehicle or probably doing surveillance or counter, soft close, but you're getting paid what you're worth. And the Bay Area is a different animal, as you know, Brian, from LA. It's a totally different animal.
And you're working with a client where you're still doing the same job. There's no notoriety to it, right? There's no client name that's holding you up there. So it's an easier job in the sense that you don't have the same havoc that comes with the celebrity, right?
Right.
But then you move it down to LA and you take the celebrity and the pay goes down
Substantially.
Doesn't make sense. There's a problem in the industry that causes that. It's not the guys working; they're just trying to make a living, so they're taking what they can get.
Well, I think it might be a problem if people are so desperate for money to show some sort of business on their books, and they're putting the bids in to get it. And some of these retired cops getting their PPO, and they got to, like you said, they just landed by some connection they have to a management company, and they landed XYZ celebrity. Oh boy, we got $1 million contract. And then I think the greed factor plays in, but the cost of doing business in California is horrendous.
Right. I mean, look, do I fault the owners of the companies? Yes. Do I know it's expensive to own a business in California? I do know that it's very expensive, and they tax you in every avenue that they can. Right. My wife and I own a small business, and it's not really a profit level. It's let me pay the government and the state is predominantly what I do. But I can only imagine, for these guys, it's frustrating. But at the same time, you can't have a successful business without having the successful EP guys. They're the face of your business. They are what makes it operate.
Yep, true.
And I have seen, and I've seen this in companies where the owners of the company hire guys with experience, and then get jealous because that person's with the celebrity all the time, and they have no connection to that celebrity. I've seen that with a company, and that is as sad as it comes to me, because you should sit home and be happy that you have a guy working and making you money, and he's probably making less money than he deserves.
Sure.
He deserves more,
right?
And you're paying him less, but you're sitting at home and being able to say, I have this person as a client. I got a good company. Capitalize on that and try to get other clients. But instead, they sit home and they obsess with Mark is with so-and-so, and I don't know that person, and I want to show up unannounced to places and shake hands and say I'm the owner of the company. Get the fuck out of here. Shut up.
How many times did you see that?
A few times.
That's embarrassing.
It's extremely embarrassing. And I work for like that.
And it shows the lack of trust from the owner of the contract to you.
Oh, extremely. Yeah. That's nothing but a lack of trust at that point. They're the ones that ruin this industry.
They want some attention. They want limelight. They want a picture. Well, this is my client. Do you take your picture?
Sit at home. Be happy.
Maybe give the EP agent, the detail lead that's running that show. How about giving them a bonus? We're doing such a great job, pay them more than the average market price, and keep them around, keep them loyal. How about
they don't do that? That is another thing is they don't care about keeping you around because there's 10 guys behind you that want to do the job. They might not be able to do that job as well as you, but there's 10 guys trying to stick a knife in your back in this industry to get your job. And that'll never go away.
That's ever. So true. Well said. Yeah, the joke when I was working on a high profile detail in Southern California, which you know about, for a certain tribe down there. The joke was everybody was trying to stab my back to get my seat in that car. It was a 6 day a week. And I'd never experienced this before coming from Oregon. I'm like, what are you talking about? Next thing you know, I had that seat for 3 weeks, and the next thing I got replaced with somebody else, and I was out.
Yep, that's commonplace in the EP world in Southern California. There's always somebody jockeying for your job. They'll stab you in the back. They'll talk shit about you. They'll do whatever it takes to get in your spot, if they're qualified or not.
Yep, true.
If they're a good shit talker, they'll get in your spot.
It's all about the one that talks the most.
And that's where I put it on you as an agent, that the only defense that you have, be good at your fucking job.
Be better than everybody else.
Don't do stupid shit. Be better than everybody else. And have a somewhat, whatever you can, relationship with your client, where your client trusts you.
The trust issue.
Because, I've been with clients, they don't want to be with other people. And that's an accolade to you as an agent, right? Is that they're comfortable with you and they don't want somebody else. But know that that's a sacrifice in your life, because you may have family plans. You may have things going on in your life. If that client wants you and that's your job, then you're going to go do it. And you're going to suck it up at the end of the day, because you should be happy that somebody's wanting you and has that trust in you. But it is a career where there's always somebody trying to take your job away from you. That'll never go away. And if that doesn't fuel you to do a better job, then you need to step to the side, let that other person do it, and walk away, because it's always going to be there.
Brian, you're now at the what's your position now? Are you allowed to disclose that on this? I didn't want to go.
I'm a senior vice president in charge of corporate security and investigations at a bank in Southern California.
Okay, fair enough. And being that you've been away from the industry for a while, from the celebrity world, what do you see as we go into 2022 around the corner? We got midterm elections coming up, and the trial just ended with Kyle, and that just happened. What do you see the industry morphing into in the next year or so? Do you think it's going to get better? Do you see demand picking up? What are you hearing from your sources?
I do see it picking up, and I solely put that on. Wait, man, we went through a bad time during the last 2 years with COVID. People aren't traveling, celebrities aren't doing things. You're now seeing that there's film production going, so you're going to see that industry pick up, and there's guys all day long that are working film set security. Right, it's a good gig, man. You get paid decent money for sitting around and watching gates and watching production. But you're going to see celebrities traveling around more. I think security is going to pick up a little bit more on that end.
Do you think EP itself, executive protection, like for the C-suite level folks, do you think we're going to see an increase in that next year, or is that going to be more summertime we'll see that? What's your thoughts on that?
I don't know about the next year, but I think in the next year and a half, you're going to see it pick up. And I think in the next year and a half to 2 years, you're going to see kind of what we saw prior to COVID. My honest opinion is I think that the money won't be there.
So it'll be less.
It's going to be less. That's my take on it. Is it's going to be less because people are going to be hungry to go to work, right? And they're going to accept less to go back to work in that industry. You're not going to see people trying to stiff, a higher day rate or hourly rate to go back to work doing what they want to do. I want it. I mean, I'd want to go back to work and I'd want to get in, and that's something you gradually work on, I guess, right? But you're not going to go out of the gate when people haven't been making money, even celebrities. I mean, yeah, you can say all day they're rich, but have they been
got budgets too?
Yeah, have they been making money?
Nope.
No, they got shut down for 2 years. Nobody was making anything. I mean, hey, when you're sitting at home watching the Tiger King because there's no movies out, that's got to tell you something. Those people, you're right. They have budgets. Their management has budgets. And security is, like I said, it's the last in the budget.
Good point.
Always be the last in the budget. The cook, the driver, all those guys are the last minute people, right?
Sure.
Security falls in that realm, and you're the last of everything. So
where do you see where's forecasted growth in the corporate security side? Where do you think that's going to be at next year?
I see that growing. I see, there's like, especially in the banking world, there's a lot of larger banks buying smaller banks. Things are getting bigger out there. I think those jobs are going to start opening up in about, I would say in 2023, you're going to start seeing a lot of more corporate security type jobs. Now, when I say corporate security, there's a lot that goes with that, right? Access. Guys that sit around and do access for banks and stuff. That's a corporate security job. And it's a good gig because you can make good money and you're dealing with access and access programs and stuff like that. I think that will start growing in the next 2 years.
And probably more site security with the midterms coming up.
Yeah. You're probably gonna see some crazy shit.
Probably so.
It's gonna be a shit show like it was on this last election. But yeah, no, dude, those were good gigs. I mean, I've worked for I did a couple side jobs when I was with my first company, doing people running for Congress and Senate, stuff like that, and made good money. And then that disappeared for a while. And I think with the turmoil of how these midterms are going to go in the presidential election, I think guys could go out and make good money doing that. And those are the jobs that they'll pay more than a celebrity, and they're good gigs. They're straightforward. They have no qualms with advancing. I mean, they get it. They understand it, and those are good gigs to get. If you can get on something with the midterms and politicians, man, that is the way to go, I think.
What has been your success in the corporate, now you're corporate banking at your position now? What's been the benefits? What are the highs and the benefits of where you're at now? What have you enjoyed the most about it?
I would say with the job that I have now, the highlight of this part of my career was being able to start my own executive protection team. So to take everything that I learned, not knowing what I was doing in the beginning, and then getting A-list celebrities and traveling the world, and then going to the private sector and be able to combine all those things. One, to convince executives that they needed security was a major feat, right? I think that was the hardest part, was selling. I got guys all day that I can pull to be bodyguards, right? I know guys in the industry, and
sure.
Pulling those, that had its own issues, but getting somebody to agree that they wanted that, I thought was the highlight of everything I had done in the past, and then bringing it to the future and saying, boom, I got it. Staffing it was an issue.
This last year, especially COVID, nobody wanted to work.
Well, this was pre-COVID, but guys had jobs, and I got, when they said this to me, I understood it. Was I tried to pull a guy that you and I both know over to work for me. And
I remember that conversation.
He said he wouldn't do it. He said it's too new. I don't know how long it's going to last. I got a long-term client, and I'm not going to leave a long-term client to come to something that I don't know. Call me in a year. And that's a true professional in the industry, right? You're not jumping on the next bandwagon. And I understood it, and I accepted it. And I respect the guy today for doing that, because guess what? A year and a half later, it did end out of my control. And he would have been high and dry. And he looked out for, he had been in the industry long enough to know, I don't know, dude. That sounds great. Good money. Let it run for a year and then call me.
Smart move on his end.
Yeah, because he had a good gig and he didn't want to give it up. And I can't blame him for that in any way, shape, or form.
Sometimes you got to calculate your risk and what's beneficial for you.
Right. And a lot of guys don't
turn down. After you've been in this industry long enough, you have a sixth sense gauge radar. If you can tell, what gigs are going to last, when things are going to fall apart. As they say, if something is on paper, they say inks on paper is going to go. If not, it's all talk.
Right. And I had a few guys when I was trying to hire for that position that thought it was all hype, because I was telling them prior to me getting the approval for it. So they were like, dude, I can't trust it until you got it. And then I got it and they came on board. But being, a guy that started out in this industry, if you told me you had a better gig, I might have looked at it, right? Because you're trying to progress. A veteran EP guy is going to look at that and do what that guy did to me and go, yeah, you're too new. I can't take that risk.
Wise decision. Now we both know who he is, and he blew up, and I'm not going to drop his name because he just he's doing well for himself. He's a fellow Marine, and that's all I'll say.
Yeah, I would drop his name, but I won't now that I told that story.
Perfect. Enough for me.
But he turned me down, and I was disappointed because I wanted him to come work for me. I know him. I know his work ethic, and he's a jarhead, and I wanted him to come on board, and he wouldn't do it. And let me say, he's good at what he does. And again, another guy that was never a cop.
There you go.
He was a Marine, and the guy was good at his trade. So he knows that we're talking about him if he's listening, and so just take pride in that. But
yeah, but there's a relationship of respect that comes with being a jarhead in the Marine Corps, because we understand the character, the work ethic, the ethos, and just the value foundation of that individual that has that build-up, makeup.
Well, there's plenty of guys in the industry that are good at what they do, that have never been in the military, never been cops, stuff like that. But I will always fall back on, I would not have the work ethic that I have. I would be less person if I have that type of saying that I was a U.S. Marine. They taught me a work ethic that I could never repay them for.
True.
The drive, they taught me drive, right? To never give up, keep pushing, and push until you can't push anymore. And I learned that at an early age in boot camp, and I can't say enough of that. And look, I've worked with other guys from militaries from all over the world. I have a huge respect for the guys from Israeli army guys. Those guys got a drive that is insane. And I'm good friends with some of those guys, and I tell you that they are some of the best operators out there. But personally, for me, I wouldn't have what I have if it hadn't have been for the Marine Corps.
It opens up so many doors of opportunity, because when you're getting out of the military, the Marine Corps especially, you don't know what you don't know until 20 years later you go, holy crap, the stuff is still, opportunities still present themselves.
Right. Yep. And on your baddest days and my worst days in this industry or any job, I have looked back on my experiences as a Marine and worked off of those.
It's a good foundation of success.
Yeah.
Mindset principles.
And it's stupid. And anybody out there listening who's a Marine will understand this. Hey, I'm not happy in the situation I'm in right now, but I'm not eating an MRE. I'm not getting rained on, and I'm not waiting on a helicopter to pick me up. So, you start factoring all that stuff in, and you go, this isn't that bad. I can manage this. And that's what I love about the military. The military teaches you basic stuff about how to appreciate normal life, right? They take so much away from you, make things so miserable at times that little things you're happy about.
The basics.
You're not dealing with bullshit. I loved every minute of it, but there's things that I would never want to do again.
Or could do at our age. We're like,
oh well, yeah, that's a whole different story, man.
Physically, like, holy crap, I could never do a 2-minute mile in 18 minutes.
No, that would never happen again for me. But they're the ones that took that away from me too.
Congrats on that win and that award.
They ruined my knees.
They ruined my back, suckers. But we got here. I'm running my security company here out of Oregon and doing stuff in California now, and running a coaching business. And I just became a defense contractor, so I can't complain. If you need security services, reach out to me, ludlowsecurity.com. And then look me up on iHeartRadio, Mark Ludlow. And then also YouTube, smash the subscribe button on YouTube and subscribe to when we release Brian's podcast and his story about his experiences. But yeah, iHeartRadio, just type in my name, Mark Ledlow, will come up on all the podcast platforms. And we got more stuff coming up into the year and new website. We selling some shirts too, some merchandise. And then we got some books coming out too. So keep checking for that. But yeah, Brian, we had a great talk and great discussion, and you let the cat out of the bag.
It's been a long time coming. I appreciate you having me on, dude. And anybody out there listening, I'm pretty open on social media and stuff like that. If anybody's interested in, further conversations or whatever, anybody can always hit me up.
Yeah, Brian's on Facebook, so just reach out to Brian Anderson on Facebook. You're on Instagram too, right?
Yeah, sort of.
Brian's running. He has a corporate full-time job. He runs. How many banks do you run? Many.
Close to 40.
40 banks. So you can imagine Brian's schedule daily. He's a C-suite level executive in his position, and he's up there in the food chain in his job, so he doesn't have time. So if you want to get a hold of Brian on something, or if you're media, you want to talk to Brian more, just reach out to me, Mark at ledlowsecurity.com. That's a good way to reach out to Brian. But he's a busy guy. He's got a family in Orange County. I got his personal number. So reach out to me if you want to make contact with them or have a chat on something. So he'd be happy to talk that way, but we'll definitely connect you too. Any more advice, Brian? Any closing thoughts about next year or the end of the year, or advice to anybody out there?
No, man, I think if anybody's out there trying to do this job or is currently in it, man, good luck to you. Like I said, if anybody cares about my opinion or whatever, you can always hit me up. But, I care for everybody out there that's doing this job. I understand the struggle, and I appreciate what you guys do.
And there you go, folks. The advice from Brian Anderson, retired EP agent for many celebrities. Listen to the podcast. You'll find out who those are. Veteran, Marine Corps veteran, SWAT police officer, now corporate guy. Go figure. And soon to be an Alabama resident. He can't wait to leave California, obviously.
Yeah, 7 months.
7 months. Nice. And then if you want to follow me on Instagram, I do a lot of reels on or podcasts on Instagram. You can find me at the Mark Ledlow, the Mark Ledlow, and Twitter, the Mark Ledlow as well. So, or the Fearless Mindset as well. So please subscribe to all those channels, and you'll be linked in, or subscribe to YouTube just as well. You'll see the link. So that's all, folks. We just did 2 hours. 3 hours. And this is probably the longest podcast recording I've done.
Wow.
But Brian and I we've been talking about doing this for about a year. So we finally dialed down to do it. I know you guys will all enjoy the content. And Brian's talking about maybe doing a little book on this too. So we'll keep you guys posted on that as well. So with that, please tune in to iHeartRadio, Amazon, and the Fearless